Yep, it's 6:01 Central Time on a Tuesday. You know what we doing. Yeah, I know I look like homegirl from Big Comfy Couch. She was from the hood. Yeah, I know. Leave me alone. As much as I work, I'm this close from working at a Wendy's and taking folks out. Anyway, hey, it's your girl Erica Switzer, and it is episode 17 of your comedy bestie. I'm just waiting on the homegirl Sonal Aggarwal to come through. Um, you may need to open that link in an external browser. Otherwise, it may give you trouble. Oh, there she is. Hey, there we go. Hey, hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's great to see you.
Likewise, I was just sending you a message. You might need to open that in an external browser in case Facebook gives you trouble.
Oh, you were audioing me. Okay. I was like, who else is here? Because I was like, is there somebody else here?
Nope. I was just follow. I was about to follow up because I know this thing has given people trouble before. Actually, before you had logged on, I was just looking at something. Let me see if I can add this to the screen. Present. Um, Share my screen. Give me a second, because this might be a little bit of a throwback.
I gotta pick you up and take you.
I gotta go back because, like,
it makes me feel unsafe.
You show up at least 3 times in this.
It's a kid-friendly neighborhood.
You get all these little Chicago babies.
Sure.
Rahul, I'm sick of this shit, okay? Stop blaming everything around you and start giving a damn.
Okay, so I'm not your driver, but, when I see 2 soft brown boys like you, I gotta pick you up and take you for a ride. I mean, it's the weekend, right?
What? I was just so focused on even getting here. I haven't really thought about what's next. Don't lie to me.
Would I lie to you about Korean gays?
Oh, I'm Krish. I'm just a friend for now.
Great. Another fuckboy.
You know I'm not warmed up yet. You know that.
The craziest shit happened to us last night. So out of nowhere, this corny ass Indian dude comes up to us and says nigga.
He said nigga?
So casual, bro.
And he had a Bulls jersey with his own name on it.
Okay, you
NBA player named Patel.
How's a love life going for you, Pri?
There's this guy I'm kind of seeing, but not really.
And he's looking to get married. Priya? Is anyone here to talk to?
I believe I can add diversity to the team.
Diversity? You're wasting your time, okay?
Why don't you tell that to my dad?
Hey, if we crush this app, he's going to be calling you daddy.
Why would you say that?
What a weird thing to say.
Okay, I just had to bring this up. I know it's a throwback. It was so cool.
No.
Well, there's this new 5-star Italian restaurant that serves spaghetti that'll blow your mind. Not literally, though. That's just a metaphor. You in?
Oh, man.
No, but it's so yummy. I can't do that.
Of course.
That was such a... I'm sorry. I just had to bring that back. I had to.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh my God. And even the whole conversation about the brown people using the N-word is not being had. It's not something that's talked about in mainstream media. And we just see Asians with white people, and we're still seeing token black person, we're seeing Asians in medical industry roles. When it's oh, okay, well, we need to put a diversity person in here. We're okay, the doctor is an Asian person. Really? This is still where we are.
And in 2025, this is still where we are. But shout out to you and Team Code Switch, because one, so awesome to have hilarious creatives, Chicago-based people of color doing it up. 2, bringing issues like you mentioned to the forefront that people don't even think about.
Yeah.
And 3, I mean, that's a slice of Gen Z millennial life right now, and that's very cool to see.
And it's a slice of Chicago comedy history, because you see a lot of people in that cast that have gone on to do so many things. So you're
if I'm not mistaken, the tall brother with the bald head, is that not Ingwingwe? I can't say that last name. The brother who he writes for late night, but he also does like these fun, now that's the 90s parodies and stuff on Instagram.
I don't even know who you're talking about. We'd have to rewatch it because I know Peter Kim's in it. You know Peter Kim, and Peter Kim has sold a bunch of scripts and has been in this movie that's in theaters everywhere, The Nice Indian Boy. And he's teaching like a script writing class you can sign up for.
Nice.
I want to take that class. I'm not available at the time that he's taking it, but if y'all are taking it, I mean, and it's stuff that there's a lot of people sharing resources with each other because otherwise, how do we have access to them?
Exactly.
The whole principle of Peter's class is you do not even have to write a show before you pitch it. I didn't know that until I read the synopsis of his class.
Okay.
I thought for a whole pitch deck, you have to have like a pilot written and episodes and your characters developed, and I don't know, until I take the class, I won't know what you actually need.
Peter's just basically saying, come with ideas, but nothing firm, and he'll flesh them out with you. Is that what it is?
I don't know. I haven't taken the class, but I think he's like, you can sell ideas.
Yeah. Okay, now. I mean, and it's true. There's a market for it. There's ways to pitch things. Again, it's just finding creatives to know how to do it, that'll share that knowledge with others and just keep that ecosystem going. That's brilliant. So there's Peter in there. There's Vic Pandia. There's
Sabine
Sadiq, who's now in New York.
Anji Kim. Jordan Stafford.
Did I see Max Thomas in there, or am I freaking out?
Max Thomas. And it's so cool to see like some of these scripts being brought into a web series because it's the way that we actually talk. Sometimes I feel like I watch TV and I'm like, who talks like this?
Right.
Who talks like this? And now it's so interesting to see these patterns and trends, where it's like the body positivity movement is over.
Yeah. We're done with it.
It was a movement moment. And yeah, we're done with it.
We got, RFK Jr. sitting here looking like freaking the dude from the Simpsons with the haggis and shit and all ripped. Telling us that we got to get in and gear. Oh, wait a second. Nobody's told us we needed to do shit since Arnold in the 90s. Chill out, bro.
Yeah.
Let me put my gyro down before you start telling me what to do, sir.
Oh, not RFK. Didn't his wife just off herself? Is that true?
I don't think so. She still got all that Curb Your Enthusiasm money coming in, child. She ain't gonna do nothing like that.
This is the thing. Now with AI, I have to fact check myself because I'm like, are these real? Are these real articles or are this just clickbait?
The AI is getting very scary. The AI gets so scary. Did you hear Rod Stewart? It did an AI tribute to Ozzy Osbourne to Forever Young, but the AI had him in heaven taking selfies with other deceased celebrities. So I saw the screen cap with him and Prince. I was like, what the fuck? This is AI.
Also, his wife is like 13 years younger than him. She's alive.
The one and only Cheryl Hines, everyone. Cheryl Hines.
Who is Cheryl Hines?
RFK Jr.'s from Curb Your Enthusiasm, though.
Oh, this lady.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. Like, just because you're an actor, just because you're into storytelling doesn't make you like a liberal. You can be a big old Republican, especially nowadays. The right wing is like killing it.
Okay. With their own cliques. And
with my Oprah's book club mug. I went to the Starbucks Reserve because I read this Ocean Wong book, and it was it was a different kind of tokenism because it's like we've got a queer Vietnamese American author writing this like really sad book, and Oprah being like, this is the book, you know, and it's like, how do you get so sad? And he's like, well, it's a lot of trauma. I'm the first person from my family who like knows how to read and write, and everybody in there just like being an immigrant is not, and a child of immigrants is not enough anymore. You have to be like the first one who knows how to read, and then people are so impressed.
At this point, I'm scared to watch anybody's backstory on American Idol or
America's Got Talent.
I'm gonna cry.
That's what, and if you worked with any comedians who have done the show, they're like, it matters your comedy performance, but the backstory, you have to be like, all of my limbs are fake because I was in a horrendous accident. You got to get them all crying, and then they feel really bad for you, and then they're laughing because like, oh my God, you can't just be like, I had a pretty good childhood. That's like, okay, cut. Get them out of here.
Like, even if you could sing the telephone book to cherubs, they still will be like, not heard enough.
Both your parents, get out of here.
Right. It's crazy how they act on that. Aside from, well, shoot, have I even formally introduced you to people? And we're 11 minutes in, we just talking.
It's your pod. What's the pod?
It's my pod, and we basically, so with your comedy bestie, I just love talking to people that I've jammed with and have creative minds and have projects going on. Here at your comedy bestie, my childhood bestie pipes in, hey, Donetta, what's going on? And yes, she watches the show. And she's learned a lot about comedy insights, and about the lives of performers on and off stage.
Live. We're not just like recording live. We're live.
We're live. So if jokes come out, they come out. But more importantly is how you doing, how you feeling, what's on your mind. And then we get to where you're going to show next. And my favorite parts, post feature headline, and who's your comedy bestie. So those segments.
Okay.
My bestie's good. Thank you for checking in with us, Donetta. I am glad to hear that you are good and hanging in there with this hot, soupy weather. Ooh, it's bad out there. Where should I even? You've been around a long time. Where did you get started with stand-up, per se? And I'm going to say stand-up because you are a multidisciplinary artist.
I got started with stand-up because I was doing movement stuff. Like I was a fire dancer, and I was in a motorcycle accident. So I broke my leg, and then I was like, okay, well, I can't walk for a while. I can't do movement stuff for a while. So I guess it's finally time to start doing stand-up. So my first open mic, which was the Ink Up stand-up open mic up on Broadway, where there's like a tattoo studio, and it was like a 5 p.m. mic. And
nice.
I mean, I was 32 when I started, and it was just 2016. Is that right, math? Something like that. And I was so nervous. And because with fire dancing, like you have this huge prop, you know, and people aren't really looking at you. They're looking at like the whoosh, whoosh, whoosh of the fire. So for everything to be stripped away and you only have your voice was so vulnerable the first time that you do it. It's such a seal breaking kind of moment where you just have so much anxiety built up in your head for, I don't know why we invest so much into that first moment. I really encourage people, if you want to do anything, to just go for it and try it. Because otherwise you could be going years thinking, oh, I would love to do improv. I'd be really good at it. And then you try and you're like, I don't like this. Or in some cases you do like it. And then you find your teammates where, like, for example, I was selling clothes in Italy with this Brazilian girl, that woman that made in India. And I was like, I'm going to kill this. I'm going to be so good at this. And let me tell you, like day 2, I was like, I hate this. I hate this. Because all the behind the scenes, it's similar to stand up where it's like, You have to prepare the material, the physical material of like the dresses, bring them to a plaza where we're setting up for a clothing fair or an artisanal fair or whatever. Then you got to get there really early to get a good spot. Then you have to entertain yourself. You can't go anywhere. You know, you have to stay there and stuff gets stolen. Stuff lost in the mail. We had a package come from India that got sent to Romania instead of Rome.
Yikes.
And it was stuff like that where so much anxiety. And after going through the broken leg experience, because it wasn't set properly, so it had to be reset. I wasn't supposed to be able to walk for like 3 months. It turned into a year. It was like I had a training for the pandemic.
Dang.
You know, and after the anxiety of, am I ever going to be able to walk again? You know, I still remember I was doing like a NBC showcase thing. And one of the other comics was like, why are you so relaxed? And I'm like, bro, the fact that I can walk and I'm like moving without pain is the center of my universe. And this is irrelevant. I don't necessarily think that this is going to go anywhere. I don't feel like I'm talking about topics that NBC is necessarily interested in. NBC, if you're watching this right now, please prove me wrong. But I don't get as nervous about stand-up after having been through actual shitstorms of having mobility being taken away. And I remember being in a wheelchair in airports, which I actually highly recommend because you can't miss the flight if they have you in a wheelchair because there's somebody else who's responsible for you. You don't have to navigate in the airport. You know, somebody just is taking you from point A to point B, and people really just jump out of the way when they see a wheelchair. But I did my first open mic with crutches.
Okay.
And I remember being like, people hate crutches. People hate crutches in the wild. Like people see you with crutches, they jump out of the way. They're like, how dare you be out in the public realm? Why aren't you at home laid up? You know, and I remember being like, that's it. I'm going to do my first, I'm ready for my HBO special. And the other comics didn't like that. They were like, yeah, that's not how this works. You know, you need to, this is the process. And it's like, okay, we're surrounded by dream killers. If your friends and family aren't bad, you know, you do what you got to do. And one of the things that I had to do was just, I don't know, which anybody who wants to try anything, you just got to go for it and try. And you're not going to know until you try. You know, the first time I tried stand-up, I wasn't like, I'm trying stand-up. I was like, I am beginning my stand-up journey.
Good. That's cool. And that's an awesome way to be, considering. And a great way. I mean, wow. Literally overcoming having to deal with immobility and probably having a ton of material off of that.
I don't know. I mean, I wrote a one-woman show about it that I'm like, do I have any material? Yeah, I did a one-woman show that we were talking about reviving. My director, that was back in 2018. Nice. So that was actually so fresh to go from like starting stand-up to a sold-out weekend in the small theater of the Steppenwolf. You know, 2 years in, which is then, that's actually such a crazy timeline because now it's 2025 and I'm like, what have I done? What have I accomplished? Which is very much how stand-up works. You know, it's like all this up and down and there's not a straight trajectory. You know, it's not like a ladder.
Yeah.
That you climb.
There's so many pitfalls and pratfalls with it that, like, even when I think about being a flappers comic from here of all places, like, yeah, I won a contest in 2020. It feels like I made one really, really, really good sandwich in 2020. Do I make that same sandwich? Occasionally. But I definitely made the best version of that sandwich to earn that money that day.
And does that sandwich fit the palate of whoever else is out there?
Exactly. That's one way I look at it. At this point. As you've been going along, and you even mentioned being at the Steppenwolf, which is really awesome considering your multidiscipline and background and all that. What has been a few of your favorite places to perform?
A few of my favorite places to perform. Well, this is not stand-up related, but when I was like in the peak of my fire dancing era, I was traveling around Europe with this Mexican girl who's like blonde, So people are not used to blonde Mexicans out in the world because we have very small worldview and think of Mexicans as like looking like me. And we would play this game where people would be like, guess where Pamela is from, and they would guess the whole world before they would get to Mexico. But we were so in our 20s and just sleeping in squats and sleeping in random people's places, stuff that I would never have the endurance to do now, and I'm like, no, where is the shower now? Like we would just be going, and we ended up in Turkey at like a juggling festival in Turkey. It was a week long camping, absolutely beautiful. And I mean, Turkey was an insanely beautiful place to perform. And the people of Turkey were so welcoming. And so like, I remember a man like saw us just looking around, like, how do we get to where we need to go? And he was like, what do you need? Have you eaten yet? Why don't you come eat? And then we'll figure out where it is that you need to go, And I was like, and I haven't been back since. I think I've been back one time, but it was in the same era. And I would love to get back to Turkey and I performed stand-up at like a couple different guest houses, hostels in Latin America, like in Guatemala and in Mexico. And that's, people are like, oh my God, I speak Spanish and I've done some stand-up in Spanish, but to be able to, like English is spoken all over the world generally. So you can always find someplace where there are people who are speaking English who are also relieved to be around other people speaking English. Because if you're, immersed in a different language, to be able to just be at a stand-up show in a hostel in Guatemala, it's so random, and then I did like in like 70 minutes or something at this guest house because I was the only person in their world doing stand-up. I was the only fish in the pond. There were no other fish. So they were like, just keep going. We have weed, we have drink, we have snacks. Just keep going forever, And then I got to do stand-up at this really random stand-up club in Iceland. I was on like a family trip. So that's the other thing about stand-up. If you reach out to, and people, especially when they hear that you're from Chicago, are like, okay, this is going to be good. And it's almost, the expectation is so high. And even when you are doing good, sometimes people will be like, oh, but she's from Chicago though, right? And it's okay, so whatever. And you're like, okay, I would love a little bit more credit for, but people, that's cool though, that the expectation is high for people from Chicago.
It is. It's very cool. And it's cool to know that the world over, which is awesome. Iceland is pretty beautiful too, right? Iceland is all green.
Iceland is all green. And, Iceland and India have, this is a very random tangent, but not random to me, very relevant to me, that Iceland was a colony of Denmark and was liberated in the 40s because the World War II was costing Denmark so much money when they were fighting the Nazis that thanks to the Nazis costing them so much money, they couldn't afford Iceland anymore. And that's what happened in India. India was under British occupation for like 400 years. And then the Nazis just drained those little British banks and they were like, we can't afford to keep the colonies anymore. And I made a comment to my parents. I was like, okay, so low-key we're like indebted to the Nazis a little bit. And my mom did not like that. And my dad was like, oh my God, you're being so disrespectful to all the freedom fighters and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh yeah, it was Gandhi. No, dude. It was the Nazis.
We still have Nazi type stuff going on.
Oh yeah, they're back big time with a vengeance. Who knew that white supremacy was going to make such a comeback in 2025? Because I was just talking to my director for my one woman show, and I'm like, God, like we see all these people who are like any minorities that are like Aziz's, for example, Aziz Ansari, we're like, but he doesn't care about his brown audience. It's like, yeah, because the brown audience is not paying the way that a white audience is. The white audience is going to sell out the Chicago theater. They don't care how canceled he is. They don't care about any of that. They're like, here's our little brown dude. Anybody who's aligned to the Zionist side of history right now, guess what? They're making money. Meanwhile, what am I doing? Fundraisers for Palestine. Has that helped Palestine? I don't know. I'm working for free. I'm getting messages from families in Gaza like, can you help my mom go to the hospital? I'm like, no, I can't. I'm not allowed to send money on the internet anymore. All my shit has been blocked because I get scammed.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I tried to send money to somebody and immediately my it was a scam. My PayPal like got hacked. So anybody who's trying to hit me up for money online, I'm not allowed. I'm banned.
That's crazy.
I sent Venmo to like the wrong comic. Like I was trying to pay a comic from a show, and then it was the wrong person with like the same name. You know, so like, oh my god, no. I try to be very, very careful when doing any sort of money stuff, and I lend my voice to causes whenever I can. And now what? You know, it's like it's a mess.
I understand. That's craziness. Real quick, I just wanted to go back. The tall brother I was talking about, is it him from Code Switcher?
Oh my god, I thought you were talking about an Asian guy. I'm like, Asian bald guy. I have no idea who you're talking about. Yeah, Namdi.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I thought that looks like a Vietnamese last name. That's why I was like, I don't know who you're talking about.
I don't think I could show the music once too long, but just very quick. He just does these openings from like 90 shows, and
yeah, he's killing it.
And now that's what I call music, and he does the announcer voice and does the pauses for the announcers. So he's hilarious. But yeah, good stuff.
And and for people who like get the TikTok formula, you know, good for them, because that looks like it took a really long time, but maybe he did it really fast, you know.
Him with this spatula is legendary. I'm glad I got this on mute. Well, if you can tell what DMX Cisco collaboration this is delightful. His facial expressions and everything. Great, bro. Right, the wigs and everything. How he has the perfect wig for the perfect. I don't know. The man's very talented.
Like I have ideas for TikTok, but then I'm like, but the execution, like how would I? And I know that you just got to go for it, you know. And I do some like front facing videos. I'm like blah 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 blah. But you know, there's another creator who I did his seminar for how to be your own manager and to mount your own tour, and he pulled up a spreadsheet of all of his schedule for all his TikTok videos, and it was like it looked like the accounts for, you know, the friggin' bank or something, you know, like it was crazy. And he's like, don't be intimidated by this, because once you start, then it'll start rolling. I'm like, I love that for you. I love that you look at this and you just see organization. This is so overwhelming.
I'll say this. So there's one creator I know, Hey Shanta Q. She gets shared so many times over on other accounts that are not hers.
Yeah.
Very funny. I saw her post something about a milestone she had hit in TikTok, and it was a quick screen grab of her dashboard. And it said that she had about 38 gigabytes in drafts. I'm sitting here like,
38 gigabytes in drafts makes me feel so much better, because wow.
And this is
I have like
a high content creator.
I have 3 gigabytes in drafts, and I'm like, that's insane. That's too many. And that's nothing.
Sometimes you just have to let it.
Where the hell are people storing all this stuff?
I think a lot of them are just letting it fly on the internet and letting it be their account and just calling it. I can't. I've tried to do some more personal stuff on TikTok. It still winds up feeling weird. It's like, I know that my audience on TikTok is way younger than I am. So aside from just being like, here's Auntie with another thing you shouldn't do, I just, you know, I don't like just pumping out content for the sake of pumping out content. I don't think everybody should know everything that I have going on and everything. You know what I'm saying?
And then you never know what's going to be the thing that's like 1 million views. Because then another comedian friend who definitely is you know, putting work into quality reels gets no traction, and then she does like some trash thing that took 5 seconds to do, and it's like boom, went totally viral.
I don't get it. I don't get it. And this is decided by people who wind up sitting viewing this on their toilet saying, click. I have to send this to somebody.
And and then like the thing about coming up with a character is like, in theory, we're supposed to be the character, and be like, "Hi, I'm Sonal. This is my media. I'm Erica. This is my channel." It's like that's supposed to be enough, but it is so interesting to see the people that I criticize, because this is what I was talking about with my director, where it's like, as the minorities, we're still just circulating money amongst ourselves. And like, I mean, that's why Sinners is such a big deal.
Yeah.
Right? Because it got everybody to the theater. And it's so funny that Marvel keeps fumbling the bag, because it's like people are just going to go for the sake of going. What if they actually made a good movie? Wouldn't that be so crazy? I mean, I think the last movie that they made that was actually like fun to go watch was probably Thor Ragnarok.
I think that was the last universally agreed upon good one. Yeah.
And I mean, God. And then, yeah, it's just in terms of what hits is just so interesting, because it's like the tools are there, the creators are there, but what's the stuff that we're funding? Especially right now, it's all like the garbage stuff, the easy stuff.
Well, let me see where I can start, because this is a multi-pronged question. I like how Naked Gun is making a splash.
Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson.
They are.
I'm obsessed.
I know. It feels right. Like, I'm really happy for her.
Because he had like a gorgeous, like, long marriage, right? Now he's
Natasha Richardson was the bomb, and she seemed like a decent person, and she was a great actress. And well, she was one of those celebrity deaths I took kind of hard. And so, yeah, I'm grateful that they're together and they seem very happy. I mean, I loved her.
Showed up on set, no makeup, and he's like, "Oh my God, you're so pretty. That's my Naked Gun right there.
Be still my heart." I mean, come on.
We love a celebrity romance.
And I'm tired of people talking mess about her. She did her due diligence. How many dudes went ahead and blah, blah, blah?
Who's trashing Pam?
Well, she needs to wear makeup. She's going on these.
Oh.
She needs to wear makeup. No, she doesn't. She can do whatever the hell she wants.
Yeah, she can do whatever the hell she wants, especially if you watch that documentary. Like, oh my God, I don't know. They're celebrities. Let them do whatever they want.
Leave Pam alone. Okay. But no, Naked Gun went out there, and the reviews that I've seen from comedians that I trust their opinions, because I'm not going to go watch it on first run, just basically say it's getting back to movies having fun again type thing. And I feel like real Naked Gun 30 years ago was about that. So here's hoping.
Oh, I'm gonna text my dad after this, and because he's expressed interest in seeing it, and I'm like, oh, that'd be so fun to actually see something, because I feel like it's really tough to even find something that more than one person likes.
Yeah,
especially with such an abundance of choice. Everybody's just on their screens. It's like, it's fine. Put whatever movie on. I'm watching my YouTubes.
Right. Well, I was just talking to my mom. Well, Happy Gilmore 2 just came out after 27 years. But just talking to my mom, like, we love The Waterboy. You could turn The Waterboy on. Me, my dad, my mom, everybody just gather around and watch, just because. It's a really simple storyline. Everybody loves an underdog.
Yeah.
Funny stuff. Great characters. And then it just works, right? And then, with characters, I feel like we have to do so much character-wise on stand-up stages that it's hard sometimes to translate it to, is this good for just doing some skits? It doesn't always work like that, or at least some people's characters can do that. Me and my mama is going to stay in these jokes for now.
Yeah, and then it doesn't, stuff that works on the phone doesn't translate to a live experience. Unless like you really have the parasocial relationship so established that you have people in the room who just want to see that character. But like, if you have people in the room who have their partners there who have never experienced the character, then they don't have context, then they're like, what is happening? what's happening on stage. Because that's why it's so cool when you see a TikTok star actually do well live. And you're like, okay, amazing. You know, like I don't need to know any of their characters or random takes that make sense in TikTok world, you know, and then they can navigate an actual live experience. You're like, this is exciting.
I mean, so let's talk about pre-TikTok world. Who are some of your comedic influences?
Definitely Angela Johnston. Johnston. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. She's from Mad TV. Yeah, of course. She's the one that had that honey, your nail, short nail, long nail. You know, she like she said that Vietnamese were like, even I was just with my family in like a restaurant, and I was like, are you Filipino to the waiter, and he's like, no, I'm Vietnamese. And I was like, oh, I don't know any Vietnamese, but I know honey. And he started laughing so hard. He's like, oh my God, that comedian. And I'm like, the Mexican lady doing the Vietnamese accent, is that okay? And he's like, she made us famous. She made us famous. He's like, everybody knows that bit. And he's like calling the other waiter, like, you know that nail bit. And I'm like, that's what I love, when you can bring people together around a joke, you know, and I mean, traveling, and when you're in a country where you don't speak the language, but if you can make people laugh, you know, just from your mannerisms or from your attempt at speaking their language. Like, I love learning languages because I love even botching languages, because it's such a easy way to get people to laugh. You know, like I've been through Germany, and I would say like ich spreche like kleine Deutsch, which means like I speak small Deutsch instead of like bisschen, which means a little bit. You know, there's like the 5 words of German that I know. There were people, of course, who were very particular and were like, wrong, incorrect, you know, but there were a lot of people who just, I was saying Hock fünf, which is like literal translation of high five. And people were like,
Hock who?
Hock means high. Oh, like up high. And then fünf means 5. And to be honest, a Brazilian guy taught me that, and I thought that I was saying something that existed in the culture. I thought that I was like being cool and saying something that and it took me like 4 months to find out that when somebody's like, we don't actually say that, but it's so cute that you say it. And I'm like, this was a long game. I've been pranked for 4 months. But you know, it was such a fun way. For sure, there are people in Germany who remember me and are like, "Oh, the Huck Fünf girl." And I would love that. When I get to the level where I'm like touring Europe, I hope people show up that are like, "I met you back when you were the Huck Fünf girl." Huck Fünf. And then there's the Irish comedian Tommy Tiernan. You know Tommy? Yeah, you know what's up. Plays the dad in Dairy Girls. But that's like he'd already been doing stand-up for like 25 years. And in terms of somebody who does physical comedy, you know, he has this bit where he's talking about how jealousy, you know, doesn't fit into a man's body, you know, like jealousy fits into a woman's body, you know. And he's like, men are like, I'm not jealous, I'm fixing stuff, you know. And even as I remember it, you know, like just the act out that he does. And I went to see him. I was definitely the lone brown ranger at the Vic or someplace at Park West or some venue here in Chicago, where it was like all Irish and Irish Americans and like cops from Beverly and me, you know. And I oh my God. So Irish humor very much appeals to me more than British. Ew. Yeah. British. Yeah.
I definitely get that. Who else?
I mean, you know, like like Eddie Murphy, Raw, Delirium. I think I had Raw on like VHS or DVD, or I think DVD. I had it on DVD, and I remember I had my neighbor in college had the Queens of Comedy on VHS. And we would watch that in like her VCR TV. And I remember Monique being like just groundbreaking, you know, to hear her even introducing the concept of skinny bitches are evil need to be destroyed to see a big woman being funny and just where my big women at, get up, y'all are beautiful, that was like a mind melt for me, because I was born in 1983, so I grew up during like flat ass era, or like the pancake butt was the butt to aspire towards, and it wasn't until the I like big butt, was that Sir Mix-a-Lot, what year was that?
92, 91, 92.
So I was already, and then however long it took for it to actually catch on, where it was like I was like a teenager by the time it was like, no, it's okay to have shape, as a woman. So I remember seeing Monique and just being so impressed by her, and who else, I mean, and then there are so many. I don't Ida Rodriguez had like an outstanding HBO comedy special that I felt like annoyed with the audience watching it, because I was like, if a man did this exact same set top to bottom, I feel like it'd be like,
Yeah, that was one of the few times I was mad at the audience.
You know what I'm talking
Like, y'all did not give none of them jokes what they were due, and I
about.
was
Yes.
giving
And she
it.
looked stunning. I thought the stage direction, like I love Two Dope Queens. I love the trajectory of Phoebe and Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
But I really had a hard time watching Phoebe's special because I felt like it was like a National Geographic. I felt like there were like I felt like we were stalking her in a botanic garden. She was in a black dress and the fucking flowers were everywhere, and they had cameras like hidden in the audience, like between audience members. I thought it was so distracting. I'm like, and Ida's was the polar opposite of that, because she was in a white dress in a dark theater. Dress was amazing, but it wasn't like about the dress, it was just really solid direction with a few different camera angles that felt like separate from, they weren't inside the audience. We're not trying to kill her on stage, from inside. It felt like we were stalking Phoebe. I hated that special from the
Phoebe was in the Humboldt jungle if it was attacked by Monsanto. Is that what happened?
Yeah. And if the comedians were supposed to blend into the stage. You know what I mean? Did you see you know what special
kind of New York nonsense is this? Because it's got to be New York. That's all. Ain't nobody staging that type of stuff aside from the NYC people.
Oh my God. I mean, and she's so talented, and it was so beautiful. And I don't remember a single joke. I just remember being like, is this camera angle happening? And why do I have such a hard time finding her? So many flowers. And then her in this. Did you find it? Are you looking at images?
I see. Okay, hold on. Because I got it. I mean,
look at her. You can barely see her. This is so funny to me. This is so funny to me.
Is there any more? It's just one.
That's okay. But even this, I don't like the colors. I don't like the color finishing or whatever it is, where like she looks so shiny. Hilarious. You know what I mean? Like, why are we? What is happening? Are we stalking her?
The staging. I feel like I'm at a wedding reception.
I feel like I'm at the flower show at Navy Pier.
Okay. Yep.
And she is selling flowers.
Yeah.
And she's she's like a fashion icon.
Yes.
And this looks like sponsored by Uniqlo.
It does look sponsored by Uniqlo. Exactly.
Is it Uniqlo?
Yeah. That's okay. I mean,
Downtown Abbey for years.
Sorry, Harriet Tubman. Yeah. Oof. Sorry for that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Ilana Glazer is so tiny. I had the honor of sharing a stage with her on a show that I did in New York. She came in like a spy. She came in through like some secret back door. She's super tiny. She was so affectionate, so friendly, and her special was really annoying to watch too because she just had some very fans in the audience that were just losing their fucking minds at like everything.
Yeah.
We're just like, hey guys, it's me, Alana. Ah! You could hear a couple of where even Alana is like, okay, you know, and she's like, so I was at the store the other day, and people are like, store! And I was like so irritated. I'm like, oh no, this is the edit that made it. I mean, you know, what a great problem to have. Like your fans
Right.
fanning too hard.
I would go on about that, but I also have a buddy who had a fan too hard on a recording that still hasn't, the finished version hasn't seen the light of day, but you can get the raw version on YouTube without hooting and hollering. Um, yeah, I guess that's one of those problems that people wind up having when they say, "Hey, here's a taping," you know, and why sometimes it's like, "Here's a taping," and it's back to back, and they're gonna take cuts from both.
And
Yeah.
it is crazy how much heckling happens, you know, where people really don't realize, you know, that their voice, you can hear people through an entire theater, you know, and then people will be like, I mean, oh my God, I had to remove a really drunk brown woman. I'm not gonna say what kind of brown she is because I don't want to put any of my browns on blast, but it was closer to me, you know, like let's just say she's Indian. I mean, she wasn't, but she could have been cast. Casting could have cast her as Indian. And she was just like really drunk and really excited to be at the show. And she was like, you know, and then I had to pull her outside because it's like white people doing security and they're men and this is a new world that we're living in where like women, minority, drunk, alone. We're the first generation, maybe the second generation to be allowed.
Right.
I think that's why people are such bad drivers in LA because there's so many tiny ass Asian women that are not allowed to drive in their countries, and now they're behind these fucking Teslas. They can't even see over the dashboard, and then they're driving safely because it's the first generation allowed to drive. And I'm like, they should not be allowed to fucking drive. Anyway, that's this woman is just drunk and she's excited, you know, and like one of the security guys is like a comedian friend of ours who's like, please, can you help? Because I don't want to put my hands on her because I don't want this to turn into a situation. And I was like, oh my God, because they're not trained for this. They're not, because I just went up to her and I'm like, every time you want to talk, just squeeze my hand. You know? And she goes, okay. And I go, okay, that's too loud. Like we're so fun, you know. And I just go, all right, we're gonna go backstage. And she goes, really?
Oh.
No, you're not getting special treatment. I think I'm kicking you out, but hopefully not, you know. And I didn't say that. I just go, okay, let's go. Then we're backstage, and she's just like, oh my God, I'm so excited to see the comedian, you know, performing. And I'm like, okay, this is also too loud. You're still, you know. And then I take her outside to the alley, and she goes, tonight I came with the role of being the heckler. And I go, listen, that's not, casting is not interested. That's not a role. That is a villain. This is not a Disney movie. This is real life, and you need to get it together. And also, you know how it is when somebody's so drunk that's like, okay, there's no coming back from this. There's no amount of coffee and water or sandwich that can alcohol in time for you to experience the rest of it. And I was like, so I'm hosting, so I need to go back inside. And she goes, no, I'm so happy out here talking to you. And I was like, oh no. And then I'm taking her drink away from her, you know, and like, you know, if this is a drink and somebody's I'll be both real. Oh, I feel like I'm doing a TikTok right now. Where I'm pulling the drink. She was like, and she looked so devastated. And I was like, oh wow, I can't even remember the last time that I was this lit. You know, good for you.
Right.
You look like you have a good ass job. You probably earned this, but society is not prepared. So you're just being kicked out of the show. I can't let you back in now. I go, do you have a bag? And she goes, and I was like, good for you, girl. You just got your phone and your Apple Pay and you're good. And then that security guy who didn't want to put his hands on her, opens the door just enough to pass this fucking huge bag that I'm like, this is so heavy. Like I like toppled over. I'm like, how could you forget that you have all of this stuff with you? Like, oh, that's so drunk.
Yeah.
She wrote me an email the next day. She found me online, and it was like the most brown email where it was like, I was irresponsible audience member and I vow to never allow myself to be to be so disrespectful. You know, and
We're doing too much, huh? Again.
I was like, she's getting scripture involved, you know. She's like, astaghfirullah, you know, and I'm like, no, that's okay. We don't need to get Allah or Krishna. Let those guys chill, you know.
I violated Ephesians 6:9. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. That is probably one of the coolest heckler stories I've ever heard, actually.
Yeah, it was really cute, honestly. Like, even then, the comedian was that's the other thing. The comedian wasn't really affected by the comedian was handling it really well, but you could feel it was very palpable that the audience was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because the audience was like, oh, she kept saying stuff. She kept saying stuff. She kept being like, Oppa, you know, and it's like, what is happening? You know, and then she's like, speak about the conflict in Iran, you know, and he's like, well, I'll get to it, you know. Like, it's not the question and answer portion of the show yet, you know, and then the venue was like so embarrassed that I was the one that had to handle it, and they were so apologetic. And I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, this obviously isn't involved in the training. Like, what do we do when it's like a tiny child of immigrant, you know, that's just really drunk and like needs some popcorn and an Uber? Because then I just have to send her out into the street. And I'm like, please don't get hit by a car. Please, like, look both ways before you cross the street. Oh, God.
That's for the best. My goodness. The lady was alone. Sounds like she had her friends in her bag. My gosh. Wow. Well, now that we've gone from a great heckler story, I'm going to go ahead and get to that host feature headline. So I'm going to give you 3 comedians, and it's up to you to choose who hosts, who features, who headlines.
Okay.
Your lineup is Ada Rodriguez, Angelia Johnson, and Monique.
Oh my God, so funny. The 3 that I mentioned. Well, that's tough because I would have to, oh man, you know, in terms of like star power, you know, and who's going to have the most followers on Instagram to get the movie funded. In that sense, I would make Monique the headliner because she's also just the most seasoned. But joke-wise, and for me, you know, most powerhouse and able to be funny in front of any audience, definitely Ida. And I mean, all 3 of them it's an all-star team. Anybody could do, and that would be actually like such a fun tour where it's like, catch them like tonight, Monique is hosting and Angela is featuring and Ada is headlining, but then they could switch it up and do any other positions because but I do think that Monique would also be the best host because she's the most high energy and the most body positive. That was the body positivity movement.
Yep.
And she's on Ozempic too.
And looking good, might I add.
You look great, Monique. You do whatever you want with your body. That's the other thing. Then we have like our heroes in the body positivity movement, and then they're like, "Oh, I have diabetes." And it's like, and then they go through weight loss, and then it's like, "What happened?" you don't care about the movement anymore. It's like, well, I mean, also I had to change my health, right? Like,
Right.
it's all very tricky. It's all very tricky. So, in response, I think it's an all-star team, and anyone could play any of the positions. But I would go Monique hosting, Angela featuring, because she's got that pacing too, you know. And I think almost the problem with Angela is that she's got her audience.
Yes.
So now she's got her audience, and they are long-term audience, long-term fans that fuck with her. So she doesn't need to bring the heat as much because she's so successful as like the Mad TV superstar that she was, you know. And Ida is like pure stand-up.
Yeah. Angelia's, I mean, she used to come up with a pretty devoted stand-up following too from Crushing It. And
oh yeah, she has
Road Dogg.
a number of specials.
Yeah, yeah. That lady's been a force for a long time. You know, I had to give you this great lineup because you gave me a great lineup of comedians. And then finally, who's your comedy bestie?
Oh my god, that's so tough. Like in that I like actually work with.
Your call. Could be somebody you just love performing with, somebody you just always shoot shit with, somebody.
That's so tough because I feel like also like even just I've gotten myself into so much trouble with the bestie label because like you know you just say it as like a term of affection and people are so heartbroken. They're like, what? This person is your bestie? You've known me for way longer. You know, it's like, yeah, you're not my fucking bestie. I don't talk to you about shit. You're like fun times. You know, and in terms of like who I do emotional vulnerability with, I would say it's my neighbor because I am so blessed to have a neighbor in the building that I live in a building. It's random. It's not what I envisioned for myself. I think I envisioned myself in a fucking treehouse or something when I was, but I live in a building and I have a neighbor in the building who I went to college with.
Nice.
We weren't like friends in college, but we definitely knew each other and we just ran into each other in the elevator during the pandemic. And now she lives in the same building as me and I'm really close with her kids and they're my besties because the one is like 3 and they were talking about best friends and the mom was like to the kid like, who's your best friend? And he's like, you, mom. And she's like, who else? He's like, Sonal. I'm like, that's so sweet. So that's how I'm gonna diplomatically avoid the topic of who is my comedy bestie. Because like also, you know, like who am I writing with? I guess Jonald. Jonald is my comedy bestie. Jonald Reyes, who is the director of he would roll his eyes so hard if he heard me say that. And I'll send this to him, which also just proves my point that you're my comedy bestie because you're rolling your eyes at that. And he directed my one-woman show, and it was so overwhelming, that process, because I was like just talking forever, and then he came at me with like a skeletal script, you know. Thank you for I don't know which one of us is this girl. I hope it's both of us.
Both of us. Hey Reggie, thank you. That's the one and only Reggie Davis from Fleek Reality. So when I'm on there doing my little recaps of Love Island and miscellaneous shows, Reggie and crew.
Oh well, yeah, I don't get the reality TV show stuff.
That's apparently one of my bags still.
You know what though? Because nothing will ever top Flavor of Love.
That was my show.
Oh, I love him. I love you, Flav. And him just coming down with those fucking decked out clocks, you know, like, oh,
Flame. And then New York is just my girl. New York and all her spinoffs. I've been riding with Tiffany Pollard ever since.
Also, Blind Date with all the little like text message bubbles popping up would be like, it's getting awkward. And I'm like, why don't they do that anymore? And Tyra's show, America's Next Top Model. Oh my God, what a traumatic show. So I feel like, you know, that was the era of reality TV that I liked. And now
all them girls she hated on need to come back.
And a lot of them, there are some now who are like, I am now speaking about the experience. The NDA has expired.
Okay. We should. Yes, revisit old favorites and just have us commentary for real. Because we lived it. We saw some of the best and worst reality TV in these past 25 years, especially.
I mean, that girl who was microwaving, was it a turkey or a chicken? Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That was real.
And the one that just doo-dooed randomly. Just doo-doo.
It's like in the middle of the mansion?
Yeah. The girl something. She just blop. Right in the Anyway, enough of that. And it's random. So now, where can people see you next? What upcoming shows do you have going?
I'm going to be at, this is happening right now. This is a live show. I'm going to be at Madison Comedy Fest tomorrow and Thursday. And then Saturday, I will be hosting the Taste of Albany Fest. Taste of Albany Park all day. I'll be there all day. And then I'm actually hosting like a little South Asian mic. I don't know whether or not I've even posted about that. I'll add that to my postings. And yeah, I try to keep my Instagram up to date.
And your Instagram is at Sonal Media.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did just want to pop that up there. And I'm going to pop this up here because I can't wait. And I believe I've only shared this because I was ranting and raving on the show by myself once.
How's it going?
This, y'all, in October, I'm fortunate to be jamming with Sonal again. And the fantastic Lisa Laird, Sue's Ball Out, and just added Hannah Rushline. Listen, Joke Sister Chicago is really going on, y'all.
Yeah.
Our August show, Saturday, August 23rd, Kels the Comic, Amber Walker, two of Walter Payton's finest, Walter Payton Academy, Chevy Debbie, Tiny Thickums.
Yes.
Enjoy Gamby. Come on, that's going to be amazing. September, we got an even hotter show with Jenna Gephardt and Sam Selby and Reese Lene and more. And then on October, you're going to want to see us.
Production is hard. I'm so proud of you. I love this logo.
Thank you. Production is hard, but as soon as they told me, hey, Erica, your show's renewed for the rest of the year, I said, let me holler at the 20 funniest ladies I know immediately. And I'm so grateful that all of y'all said yes. Okay. And I'm very grateful all y'all said yes. But this show's going to be the bomb at the Lincoln Lodge in October, 4th Saturday of the month, October 25th. Me, Sonal, Lisa Laird, Sue's Ball Out, Hannah Rushline, Joke Sister Chicago. It's a vibe, y'all. Come through, pull up, tell some folks be funny.
Yeah.
And don't forget to follow Sonal on Sonal Media. Sonal, it has been an absolute pleasure as always catching up with your homegirl, and I can't wait to see you in person soon.
I'll see you soon. Thank you for having me. Bye.
All right, girl. Take care. Bye. And we'll see y'all back here next week at Your Comedy Bestie. Peace.
Peace.